Welcome to Connections, a podcast from the Graymere Church of Christ in Columbia, Tennessee. Our goal is to have discussions and messages that encourage us and strengthen our faith. We appreciate you joining us. Let's keep learning and growing together. Thank you for joining us for Connections. We're grateful for you taking the time to be part of a spiritual conversation that we hope is encouraging to you. I'm excited that we have Craig Evans with us. I need to say at the outset, if you're watching this, we did not call each other and coordinate what shirts we were going to wear, but this is being filmed during our Future Minister Camp, and so Craig has been kind enough to come down and to spend some time teaching our young people, and he'll be speaking to them later tonight, and so we really appreciate that part of it. But also, we've sort of recruited him while he's here to spend some time with us on Connections, and so I'll go ahead and Craig, let you kind of introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your story and what led you to ministry.
Again, I'm Craig Evans. I currently preach for the Mount Juliet Church of Christ in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. I've been there for about 6.5 years. I'm married to Brianna, and I have a little boy named Ezekiel. My journey into ministry is really, I don't know if it's any different than anybody else's, but when I was 11, 12 years old, there was a preacher in Parsons, Tennessee. His name was Fred House, and he came to me. We actually worshiped at a country congregation across the county, and he said, "Hey, I'm working with young men and developing them into in preaching. Would you want to come over and work with us?" And my dad and we were good family friends. They would come to our house and play games and eat, and I said, yeah, I would. And so we had preaching practice on Tuesdays, just like you'd have baseball practice or football practice. And I was doing those things too. And he had a group of 3, then 4 of us who went through this, and he would develop the lessons for us. And we really worked on delivery. Mm-hmm. And, it was pretty funny. He would walk around the auditorium and cry like a baby, or, you'd hear something hit a pew, and try to distract you. And he would tell you to focus, dig in, and get through that. Also, he gave us opportunities, local congregations for us to go preach at. Often we preached at our home congregation, and he did thinking games with us, like, all right, take baseball and salvation, think for a minute, speak for 5. He would come up with some way to illustrate, and then a biblical principle, and you would think about how to speak and think on your feet. But he really poured into to me and this group of guys. And when you look through the guys through history he's worked with, you've got preachers, deacons, elders. You've got people who are very successful. My brother is a partner in a law firm, and he credits his ability to speak in front of a jury through Fred working with him when he was little. And so that
wasn't anything that you initiated. He initiated that with you all.
He did. And then after that, we moved from Parsons to Germantown, and I met you somewhere through there. I think you're about 9 years old when we met. Your dad was our youth minister for a little while, and then I think he moved into an education role and has been preaching there for many years. And while there, I decided to go to Freed Hardeman and major in Bible and special education. And I did both of those. So I've taught school. Then I've been in ministry, full-time ministry for, I don't know, close to 30 years.
Yeah. And some of that time has been spent in Spring Hill, not far from where we are. And so probably a lot of connections there. And then you've helped with our Future Minister Camp for, I was trying to count how many years.
2010, I think. I moved here in 10. And actually we had Kirk Brothers on a podcast, and he was talking about how great it was. And I said, man, I keep trying to get on staff there and you won't let me. And I sort of guilted him and got him to agree to it on a podcast.
There you go.
And so I either started in 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And I've been on a part of it in some way since then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate that. But it's also been a neat way. I was mentioning with Barry, it's also a neat way to stay connected and to get to catch up. Because what we're hoping to do in the way we're doing it here is be a similar kind of influence to, like you talked about with Fred, just maybe even getting guys who hadn't been thinking about ministry or how to do that to think about it. And I know that's a challenge. I know you feel passionately about it, and I do as well. a challenge for us to find ways to encourage people in ministry, young people to think about ministry. Both of us are blessed to minister with congregations for whom that's a priority, and one of the things that I thought we could talk about is just what can we do? What are practical things we can do to help encourage not just full-time ministry, but also just the idea of evangelism and the idea of wanting to go out and to reach others.
Right.
So what are some principles you've seen that are really helpful there?
I think I think a church needs a culture that is ready to welcome people and not just be, I think it's Rick Warren who said, people aren't looking for friendly churches, they're looking for friends at church. Mm. And I may have misquoted him, but that's sort of the gist of what he said. And that's just stuck with me. A lot of congregations are really good at the friendly. We meet you at the front door, we shake your hand. Some aren't. Right. And some, but who is willing to invite people into their lives? And I think as a congregation grows in that, you see evangelism be completely different. I thought it was interesting. I had a meeting with a family from our congregation this week, and they had we're just going through some Bible questions, and they had recently gone to a different kind of congregation and had visited there. And they said that their family is very passionate about helping the homeless and people who are disadvantaged. Said that he said their son, who's an adult, picked up a homeless guy on the way there and took him with him. He said, but nobody there really talked to that person. And when they said, we know that if we had brought them here, people would have loved on them and probably taken him out to eat. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, awesome. Yeah. I love that that's the way you see our congregation. Yeah. And I think this family's been part of our congregation for 3 years or so. And that's the way they felt when they came. That it wasn't just that we visited, somebody said, hey, why don't you come to our house? We're having a Bible study. We're doing this. And through that led to a baptism in that family. Mm-hmm. And I think what you see is a culture of places where our circle is not closed. I don't know if you've probably heard that. And it's one of the things that I think if churches become a place where we're very tight-knit, that's a blessing. But sometimes in being tight-knit, we have a circle that's closed and nobody else can fit into it. And if we can leave those circles open and always find a way to invite people in, that's a big deal. And I think one of the things I noticed as when I talk to people who in Bible studies, they visited our congregation, and it's like, hey, yeah, the first Sunday I was here, I met so-and-so, and they asked us out to lunch that day. Mm-hmm. And you go, okay. And there's been some studies done. Our discipleship minister, Brian LeMasters, he's gone through and he said that when people are asked to go out to eat for a meal in the first couple of weeks they're not just more likely to return, they're more likely to become a part of that congregation. Yeah. And you think about what that means for somebody who may have a different understanding of how to be saved. Well, that opens up the door for some beautiful conversations because they feel that you love and care for them, and you do. And I've seen many people come to Christ, but it goes back to a person who said, hey, why don't you go to eat with us? Yeah. Hey, why don't you come to our house this week? Hey, could we do this together? Hey, why don't you sit with us? You may not know what Bible class you want to go to. Why don't you go with us today? Yeah. And when we invite people into our lives, if we know Jesus, we're inviting them to know Jesus. And I think a church builds a culture of that. I hear people say, and it's one of my frustrations, inviting people to church is not evangelism. Then what is it? Yeah. What is it? If I encourage people to come meet God's people and in turn meet Jesus, that maybe not be evangelism, but it is evangelistic. Yeah. And I think the more we invite, and then once people come in the door, how they are treated, they're going to remember that. And it opens the doors that I don't know if you can open any other way. Yeah. Well, and even as you described that, I mean, it sounds like all the times in Scripture we read about the importance of table fellowship,
And sort of the 21st century version of that usually is going out to eat. Probably in previous generations, it would have been come over to our house to eat. But a lot of people are just used to, hey, we're going to go out to eat after church anyway, or we're going to, so that's already a part of the plan. We're not planning on going home, but being able to include people. And when you mentioned the closed circles, I thought about how it can be tempting, even if we don't mean to send messages we don't mean to send. And when we have those kind of closed circles, we might not think we're telling people you're not welcome, but that message could be being sent. And so being aware of that, I mean, what are some ways you think that we could keep from sort of closing those circles or kind of focusing just on people we already have relationships with at worship?
I think about like the conversation we were in a few moments ago downstairs where we sit around and there's 4 or 5 Freed-Hardeman alumni and 1 Harding alumni.
Mm-hmm.
If we just sit around and share all about our experiences at Freed-Hardeman and we never pull that in, we're not intentionally excluding them.
Yeah.
But we haven't invited them in either.
Right.
And I think we can do that easily, so unintentionally.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think when you see someone who's not involved, find a way to ask and pull them into a conversation.
Yeah.
Ask, one person says, the most, the thing people like talked about the most is themselves. We don't say that, right. But when you get a chance to ask somebody how they feel, or what do you think about this, or hey, what's something you enjoy doing, you make them feel a part of a circle. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that we can give someone is pulling them in.
Yeah.
And I think it can be done conversationally, and you find a way to include somebody else in a conversation.
Yeah. And it would have to be, as you mentioned, have to be intentional. And so I know, especially if you're thinking about parents, our kids are a little bit older, but if you're thinking about parents with young kids and you do feel that pressure at church to say, hey, I've just got a few minutes to maybe connect with some of my good friends that I don't get to see very much. And so it's so easy for us to fixate on who do we know and who can we catch up with that we're not looking around for new faces or new people to welcome in.
I rule of one, everybody you meet, everybody you're within 6 feet of, you talk to. You've probably heard that, 3 to 6 feet. You introduce everybody you meet to 2 new people. And what I encourage people to do, it doesn't necessarily happen, is, hey, for the first 5 minutes, can you talk to the people and look for the people you don't know yet?
Mm-hmm.
When services are over, one of the things that I know that as a staff we do at Mount Juliet is we'll text one another. Hey, when I was walking by, I noticed there's a couple in the back that I don't recognize.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a group with all the ministers and the elders in it. Hey, there's somebody sitting up here that I don't know. And that way we sort of, or I may come in and I'm coming in and I look up and see a couple. I may talk to a couple that's right there, said, hey, do you see them? Would you catch them after services? And get to know them so they can't get out so quick.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big deal, a way to make the congregation feel responsible for greeting everybody, because no matter how friendly you are, you can only greet so many people.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how friendly anyone, but when it becomes more, to me, how friendly your congregation, for some people, it's who they sit by.
Yeah.
Like there's some people it's like, oh Lord, if we have guests today, please let them sit over here.
Right.
Because we know that people there, wouldn't it be great to not have to pray that?
Right, yeah.
To know that no matter where they sit, that somebody's going to welcome them. And
even if they're sitting in someone else's place.
Oh, yes.
That person will just scoot over and welcome them. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's so huge to be that welcoming and asking and find out something about them. And what you find is many times when I may be in a Bible study with somebody, it's always a person. How did you get here?
Mm-hmm.
Who made you feel welcome? What has this been impactful here? This person did this. This person showed up at my door with bread.
Yeah.
This person set up a play date with me and my kids this week, and I didn't know anybody here yet. this person, I said we were going to this elementary school, and they said, hold on, we got somebody that teaches at that school. You need to meet them before you leave today. And it's somebody who cares enough to pull them in and connect them. I think that's a big thing.
I think so too. And just as you're mentioning all these examples, it's also reminding me of how in our culture, it does seem like those times before and after worship service, before and after class, those are the key times. And I'm not saying there are great ways to do visitation on Monday nights and or following up and knocking on people's doors, but there's also not the same element of just kind of being able to drop by someone's house and them feeling comfortable just inviting you in and having those conversations. So it's almost like you need to take advantage of the time you are face to face with them, and let's set up a way to either go out to eat or to keep this going, rather than just saying, well, maybe I'll try to stop by their house sometime. It's really easy to miss them, really easy to, so it seems like taking advantage of those initial connections is a huge thing.
Well, do you feel comfortable, you may or may not, we've become, for good or ill, probably ill, more protective of our homes.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we feel like we'll be judged. It's not that we protect our stuff. It's comparison. It's, is our house clean enough? Is it this? And so we feel more comfortable at times meeting on neutral ground.
Yeah.
There's some people who don't. There's some people whose houses are wide open, and I grew up in a wide open house. Mm. And, but there's people that if you show up at their house, they're guarded. Yeah. But when you say, hey, we're going to go eat at whatever restaurant, we'd love for y'all to come with us.
Yeah.
It's very different. And just being intentional. I know that my wife's really good about, hey, would you want to meet for coffee this week? Could we meet during this time or that time? Or our kids could play at Charlie Daniels Park. Would you like to come do that? And I think that just goes a long way. And getting somebody's phone number and just text them that way. Hey, how could I pray for y'all this week? When somebody new moves into the area, they need new doctors.
Yeah.
They need to know where to get their hair cut. They need to know, I mean, I asked me that, but they need to know where the dentist is. They need to know these things. And sometimes something as simple as these are the things that are going on. It's a big deal because it's just the new things of moving into a community.
Yeah. And anytime if people are moving in, they're in a time of transition already, open maybe to new or different things, even if maybe they haven't gone to church before, they might be open to it now if they've had kids or if, there are those transition points.
Yeah. Most people, again, you brought it up, the transitions in our life. Somebody gets married, somebody gets divorced, somebody has a child, somebody has moved to a new area, they've changed houses, changed jobs. More people are open to Jesus during that time, or religion or whatever else. And I think it's important for us to realize that if somebody comes to our church, we have more people come in now who are just searching, and really they're searching for community. Mm-hmm. And searching for community, they find Jesus. They find Jesus as people, and that makes the Jesus that we talk about authentic and real to them.
Yeah.
And I think the way we treat them is such a big deal. We do a thing, you did it also, I'm sure, when you were at Mount Jewett, there was this timeline. And this timeline, when people became deacons or elders, we would, at an elders deacons retreat, ministers retreat, we interview them. And who was the first people that made you feel welcome here? Mm-hmm. And nobody has a problem remembering.
That's true, yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's been 10, 20 years.
Yeah. You might not remember when it was, but you remember who you were talking to.
Who it was.
Yeah.
Who it was. And I think that's a big deal. I think that's one aspect, is keeping that circle open, inviting people, including people. And I think that is huge. Another is in that, I think, praying with people. Again, that text message of, how can I pray for you? Mm-hmm. When you see the level of vulnerability some people will have in that and how much it means to them.
Yeah.
When you go through and they say, hey, we're interviewing for jobs. We're looking for this. We're looking for that. Hang on, pray about this week. When they get that job, you know who they credit for helping them get that job? Not just the Lord, but your prayers. Mm-hmm. And that connects them even more. And it's just that personal touch. I think people are looking for real connection with people.
And just as we go through these things, one of the things that reminds me of is it's so easy for us to fall into a consumer mentality as Christians, and everything that you've brought up and everything we talked about requires a different view of worship than a consumer mentality, or a different view of the church than what can I get? It's who can I connect? What can I give? And that's a different frame of mind than a lot of us are used to, because we're so consumer oriented in every other aspect of our life. And just I think it's almost, some of the things you mentioned are very practical, but it's almost like we have to remind ourselves how important they are.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be reminded that, no, I've got to take that step. And one of the things I know I hear people sometimes talk to me is I don't want to introduce myself to someone, because what if they've gone to church here longer than I have? And I've had that happen to me, but about every congregation I've ever been part of. And so if you just kind of agreed beforehand, I'm not going to let this bother me. If this happens, here we go. But it's going to take that initial effort, and it can't be just about what I'm getting, out of this.
And people need to not be jerky.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've gone here for 5 years. Well, my next question would be like, well, why haven't you introduced yourself to me?
Yeah, that's right. Put it back on them. There you go.
I mean, but I'm not usually that way, but it's in my head. I just don't always say it out loud.
Sure.
But every once in a while, somebody will do that. But for the most part, it's one thing to say, hey, I don't feel like I've met you, or I don't, and then saying, hey, are you new here? Those are two different questions.
Yeah.
And, but I think taking that step and being vulnerable is good. One of the things I try to stress in preaching and certain things to build that culture, I think you've got to bring up over and over again. And one of those, we look at Hebrews 10, 24 and 25. Yes, that's the attendance verse we go to. But what's the purpose in coming together? To encourage one another to love and good works. And so, yes, we do come to praise God, but if we're not interacting with people, we haven't done everything God's commanded us to do on Sunday. That encouraging literally means to give heart to. That means I have to be willing to give part of myself to encourage. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of it comes down, to remind people that, and every once in a while you call people out, sounds wrong, but hey, you may not feel like you know people here, but if you come in late every time and you leave as soon as the last song is sung,
that's right.
We're not going to have a chance to get to know you.
Yeah.
And we would love to get to know you. I think another aspect of trying to build that culture, I think most churches do an attendance card or something of that thing, even though we get frustrated by how few people may fill them out. One of the ways we use that is we call them connect cards, and one side's if you're here, the other side is our next steps. You want to place fellowship, you want to meet with elders, whatever else, want to get involved in the ministry. But we say on there, every Tuesday morning, the elders and ministers who are able, at 10 o'clock, we're going to meet for prayer. And if you're one of our guests or you're one of our members here and you have a prayer request, put it on there.
Yeah. And
we'll pray for you this week, and then we'll let you know we prayed for you.
Yeah.
That's sort of letting you know we care about you. You may just be traveling through.
Right.
We have a place online, and with those online prayer requests are added to that list we go through each week. And I think that helps show a warmth of prayer. Hey, you send this in, we're going to pray about it. And then have somebody, after it's been prayed for, let them know, hey, we prayed for you this morning.
Yeah.
And then maybe check up on it later. How did that go? How did this go? And I think that goes a long way in building a culture where people feel that they are cared for, but also the consumer mentality is so challenging because we are here to minister, not just be ministered to.
Yeah.
And encouraging people, hey, I need you to reach out to people. And I love that we have ministries that do take food to guests and do sign up. And I think it's also good to celebrate and let people know what it means to be a member of a congregation.
Mm-hmm.
This week, we've got a teddy bear ministry that's been a part of Mount Juliet for I don't know how long,
yeah.
And teddy bears get taken to the local hospitals and emergency rooms. And This past week, they went to the memory care at one of our local places. And when somebody sits there and go, I'm not forgotten, even though I may not remember who gave it to me.
Sure.
And the people in the pew, so y'all still care about the people who aren't able to attend here anymore. Yeah. Absolutely we do.
Yeah.
And when a church believes that, when people who come believe their church is a place of love, then they know they're also more free to invite people.
Mm-hmm.
I know if I invite somebody's going to care for them, talk to them, reach out to them. I love when our members will be like, hey, I've been inviting this person for 3 months, 3 years, and they send a message and say, hey, they're going to be here with me this Sunday at second service. We share that among the elders and ministers, and we're ready for them to come in.
Yeah.
And we're able to meet them and greet them, and all those things are evangelistic. Love is evangelistic and helps draw people closer to Christ. And I think those are all things we can do.
Absolutely. Well, and I love the fact that putting all those together does create, as you mentioned, a culture. And a culture is, I don't want to say it's self-sustaining, but if you get the momentum rolling, it builds off each other, and people see that, and then they start, and it can become contagious.
Oh yeah, and to be unwelcoming is to be countercultural.
Yeah,
isn't that what you want in a sense? And we're not perfect at it. No, nobody is. And there's times that I miss the ball, and other people may do the same. But I think when it becomes intentional, and it is stressed about that we do love and care for people, and here's how we do that. And we had a guy that right after COVID, again, transition time in people's lives, he was a young widower. He came to our congregation and visited, and he was met in the parking lot. The person that met him in the parking lot was JT.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, why don't you come in? Why don't you sit with me? Hey, who are you going to eat lunch with? You're going to eat lunch with me. And they go out with a group, and he said, hey, we got a Bible study group meets on Tuesday nights. Another couple there said, I want you to come to it. And he starts going, and he becomes a Christian. And one day he spoke at a men's prayer breakfast, and he said, I sort of want to tell y'all how I got here. I was searching, and I'd been taking care of my wife for all this time, and we come out of COVID, and I'd moved here from another state and didn't really know anybody. And I had looked up churches online and looked like somewhere I would like to try. And from the moment I got out of my car, people loved me.
Yeah.
What? Somebody greeting somebody in the parking lot and say, hey, you can sit with me. Hey, if you don't have lunch plans, let's go. And it may have been the first week he wasn't, but he came back the next week. Well, can we go next week? You can plan on it. And you see that lived out over and over again. A lot of people believe that it's programs that bring people to Jesus, and there are some really good programs. And I had our secretary this morning, I said, hey, would you send me our list of baptisms for this year? And I start going through and looking at them, and I can tell you story after story about, listen, there's people who have been reached through our benevolence ministry this year. There's people who have been reached through foster care ministry, and there's people who have been reached through all these different ministries. But what it comes back to is somebody radically loved them through those ministries. It's always a person inside that ministry who has made a difference.
Yeah.
And can I tell you, many of those people never sat down and studied the Bible with the other person. That wasn't their part in that.
Right.
Their part was loving them, making them feel comfortable. Their part was including them. And because of that, that soil, whatever it would have been before, turned into good soil and was ready for God's word.
And even just that illustration reminds us that sometimes we use phrases like so-and-so converted so-and-so. And I understand what we mean when we say someone converted them. But a lot of times, like you mentioned, there's so many influences. If you tried to make a pie chart or a diagram or, all right, what percentage does this person convert this person? Well, it's the church working together.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact you talked about the texting and stuff. There's nothing more encouraging for me than to see individuals on a Sunday morning, and it's not because of anything that we started at Graymere, but to just see that they spot someone and they're texting a friend that's in that section, hey, have you met this couple yet? And when you see that, it is contagious. And it makes me think, of course, I'm a minister here, but it makes me think, yeah, I need to make sure to talk to those people. And when it happens organically like that, because it's a part of a culture, that's a powerful thing. And like you mentioned, Sunday to Sunday, it's kind of like preaching. You can look back and say, well, I probably should have done this differently. I should have done that. Most buildings have multiple doors to enter and exit, so it's hard to track everybody down, if they're going to leave right afterwards. But generating that culture does help at least more people around the auditorium be on the lookout and feel invested. So that's awesome. I appreciate just the conversation and just a reminder, I think, for us that no matter how much of that we're doing, you can never do enough, and it's always going to increase and kind of have compound interest, over the years.
Yeah, I love what you said about very, very rarely is it a one-for-one why one person came to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
It's because this one person studied with him, did everything else. It's also, I was like, that might be a reason why somebody's baptized, but sometimes those people never stick with the church because they never built trust in the church people. They met this one person who may have studied with them, and they talked to them about being baptized. They need to be baptized, making Jesus Lord, but they never became a part. There was a hard lesson, and I hate that I saw this. There was a lady who had been visiting a congregation where I was many years ago, and we had a fellowship meal, and she came down and she went and asked the people who were filling the ice and the drinks and stuff like that, hey, can I help you? And the guy back there said no, but he was saying no because you're a guest and we're here to serve you. She never came back. And trying to talk to her, what she felt that moment is I'm not a part of this place.
Yeah.
And the guy wasn't trying to be.
Sure.
He is one of the most loving, serving people. And if he'd even thought that was the case, but she was looking to be a part.
Mm-hmm.
And people are looking for community.
Yeah.
And when they find the community of people who love Jesus, then they're more likely to love Jesus too.
Yeah.
And it opens doors to be able to study with someone. And that's what we want. We want people to be able to hear the gospel, but many times for people to hear the gospel, they need to trust his people first.
Yeah.
And the more that they go, all right, so if Jesus' people love me, then the Jesus they're talking about is actually real.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest apologetic we have.
And a powerful reminder to us that our influence can have that kind of an impact on how people view God.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a serious reminder to have. So I hope that some of these things have been helpful and encouraging to all of us as we're seeking to build a culture of reaching people and then encouraging others to do the same. So I appreciate Craig being with us. And thankful that you're with us. As always, if you're in the Murray County area and you don't have a church home, we'd love for you to worship with us at Graymere. You'll always receive a warm welcome there. If you are in the Mount Juliet area in Wilson County, I know the Mount Juliet congregation would love to have you visit with them. Hopefully we could try out some of the things we've been talking about, make sure we're practicing what we're saying, but more than anything else, just want to find out ways to encourage you spiritually. Thank you for being part of Connections. We hope that you keep subscribing and listening and all of that, and we hope that you're encouraged. Thank you for being part of Connections. We hope it was an encouragement to you. If you live in the Columbia area and don't have a church home, we would love for you to worship with us. You can find out information about meeting times, classes, and what to expect at graymere.com. You will always receive a warm welcome from the Graymere Church of Christ.